What's going on, my broskies? My name is Toadski, back again, here to bring you guys yet another One Piece Treasure Cruise video. So we actually have the data download now for the new batch that's coming out with Bartholomew Kuma Legend and Vegapunk Legend. I've already had a look at some of the comments, in regards to this new batch coming out, and a lot of people sharing the same sentiment in that either, like, A, they don't think that Kuma's abilities are good enough, or B, that the fact that Kuma really should have just been one of the anniversary units, because then he probably would have received a bit more of an established kit. However, I do think that Vegapunk is a good character, and again, there was a comment that I did see that this character does have some overlap with the fact that, if you end up wanting to run a full Vegapunk team, you may end up using, like, Legend Lilith, for example. Not Usopp and Lilith, but Legend Lilith. And the fact is that Lilith and this Vegapunk actually share pretty much the same final tap special, except that at level 5, this Vegapunk just has a better final tap. So it's a bit of a weird situation that it actually does kind of make sense and is a genuine concern that I can see people having, and I do agree that it is a little strange, but at the end of the day, I think that this character by himself is quite good, but he only works really well if you can build a team fully focused on the scientist character tag, and if you can, this character's definitely up there with being like one of the strongest captains in the game. I mean, just in terms of raw power, potentially being a 6.6 times captain for Cerebral is insanely strong. And on top of that, potentially, because if you're running a full scientist team, you're also most likely going to have access to this egghead boost, giving 2 turns of bind removal as well. He just seems pretty solid, so I really like what Vegapunk's doing. However, we have some other characters to talk about. So we've got some rare recruits, and we've got the free-to-play unit to talk about. So Sentomaru is going to be one of the rare recruits here. 5-star, Sai, Powerhouse, and Cerebral. One thing I should also preface this as well is the fact that this batch with Vegapunk, Kuma, and his rare recruits, these characters are going to be available until the end of May, basically. And what this means is that these characters are going to be locked behind this Sugarfest banner. What that means is that when the anniversary drops with that specific banner, these characters that we're talking about in this video will not be available. The only way you can get them is by pulling them in their own banner. So I hate the way that they do that, but basically while a banner debuts new characters and while it's out for a certain period of time, if other Sugarfests drop during that time period, they will not share the banner. These characters are only pullable in their own Sugarfest, so if you really like these rare recruits or you really like Vegapunk or Kuma, you can only get them on their own banner. They will not be on the anniversary Sugarfest. Just thought I would preface that in case anyone was wondering, okay? So as unfortunate as that is, it's just the way that Bandai do things. So Sentomaru, Sai, Powerhouse, Cerebral, Captain ability, don't really care about it too much, but as for the special ability, 17 turns is really high, so I hope it's good. 10% health cut, reduces bind despair duration by 5, applies increased damage taken status to all enemies 1.75 for 1 turn, 80% damage reduction for 1 turn, which actually works well with Kuma. Now that I think about it, Kuma actually doesn't have an ability to give himself damage reduction for his damage reduction based attack boost. So the fact that he doesn't do that also really hurts the character overall. That sucks. So this character will fulfill the fact that it also does the increased damage taken, and it gives you the damage reduction, which allows Kuma and Vegapunk to get their additional abilities. And then it says, if you land 4 perfect strikes during the turn, applies increased damage taken 1.75 through immunity when you go into the next turn. Okay, that's pretty good. Not too bad for a generic rare recruit character. Good to use, like, if you get inflicted with bind and despair, you remove it, and then if you hit your 4 perfects, boom, you get guaranteed increased damage taken through immunity. It's quite strong. Pretty cool ability. Can't be blown away, and then Sai Cerebral gets Sai slots as matching. Base HP boost, critical strike, enrage, support effect does nothing. Okay, so that's unfortunate that the support effect doesn't do anything. Typically, you like to see stuff like that, but at the same time, a lot of the TM rare recruits that end up coming out, they typically have like really good support effects. So yeah, the way that I see Sentomaru is I don't think this character is going to see a ton of play. Bind despair removal and then increased damage taken and the damage reduction is like whatever. The fact that when you first use the special doesn't go through full immunity, I think obviously would be a little too strong for a rare recruit. But the fact that the secondary one does, it's pretty good. Oh, excuse the yawn. Let's continue on. I think that this character is, like, again, very forgettable, okay? Next, we have a Pacifista Mark III, which is the second Pacifista Mark III I think we have in Treasure Cruise right now. Dex, Powerhouse, Cerebral, and this captain ability, again, doesn't really matter. 14 turn cooldown. Reduces burn duration by 6 turns. Not a big fan of that. Changes crew slots, including block, into Dex. Okay. If the crew has an orb boost when you launch the special, boosts Powerhouse and Cerebral characters' advantageous class effect by 1.5 for 1 turn. So this is going to be really good in the PKA. Most likely the PKA is going to have something in regards to, you know, being weak to Cerebral class, and this is going to enhance the damage. Also, if that is the case, I would expect New Year's Legend Sabo to probably be very good in that scenario, because he does do this at a much higher value for Fighter and Cerebral characters, so that would make sense. It also will further increase your crew's slot effect boost by 0.5. Boost Powerhouse and Cerebral character slots by 2.25 for 3 turns otherwise. Okay, so bone removal, slot change, and then if you have an orb boost, you get advantageous class effect and buff that orb boost. Otherwise, you don't get the advantageous class effect and you get a 3-turn orb boost. Now, I believe it was Kuma, Kuma with his super class, I think it is. Reduce cooldown by 1, yeah, slot effect boost. So you'd want to use Kuma's super class to get the orb boost, and then you go ahead and use Pacifista Mark III special, which will buff that orb boost that Kuma gives via the super class to 2.75 for 3 turns, and then you get the advantageous class effect. Okay, seems fine, but not really a lot of utility going on here. Basically, the only utility is the bone removal. You get the orb change and the orb boost buff, like that's kind of cool. And advantageous class effect is only useful if the enemy is weak to a certain class. Otherwise, it really doesn't help you at all. So, you know, I just don't think a lot of the rare recruits that come out these days are really that valuable, and I feel like this character will probably fall in line with that. So if you're pulling just for the rare recruits, I feel like you're just doing it for the wrong reason. The only reason I could really see people pulling on this Sugafest is if they really, really want Vegapunk to run like a full Vegapunk team. And I don't think Kuma is that worth it to go out of your way to pull, especially when we are so close to the 11th anniversary. It just doesn't make a lot of sense at this point, you know what I mean? So what you could do as well is you could potentially just wait for the anniversary, and if you get really lucky and you get everything that you would want within, you know, a small amount of time frame or a small amount of gems, then you could pivot and go to this banner, because this banner will be up for like a full month. So you could pull in the anniversary first and then move over to this one. But at the same time, the anniversary might do a thing where they do like multiple parts, or we're not really too sure exactly what they're doing. But anyways, let's move on, because we have one more character to talk about, which is the new free-to-play character for the month, which is York. Remember that this is a PKA unit, so this character will receive a super evolution when the treasure map drops in May. So this character will receive some slight buffs to what we see here. So the captain ability is a cerebral buff, HP buff, recovery matching. Okay, not a great captain ability, so pretty disappointing there. Let's have a look at the special ability, which is going to be 14-turn cooldown, reduces damage reduction, damage threshold by 2 turns. Remember that if you use the new Vegapunk leader, he has an effect in his captain where it says if you have a special to remove enemies' rainbow shield or threshold, remove 1 further turn of that. So that's interesting, because that works really well with this, because this removes Threshold and Rainbow Shield by 2 turns. If you run Vegapunk Captain, that now becomes a 3-turn removal. While this is good combo with that unit, you got to think outside of that new Vegapunk leader. The fact that it only removes 2 turns is a big deal. That's not that great. I hope that maybe there's double special launch or something here. It will further increase your crew's attack boost and multiplicative chain multiplier boosts by 0.25. Changes bottom row slots including block into recovery, and if 5 or more egghead characters are on the crew, reduces special bind duration by 3 turns. Oh, I hate that. That's so bad. Locking the special bind behind having egghead on the crew is really rough, and it's only 3-turn removal. This character better have double special launch. Okay, 6 turns. It's looking like it. Pinch healing, double special launch, and super tandem. Okay. As for the other crewmate ability, recover similar bomb, super bomb for matching for all cerebral units. That's actually a really good crewmate ability. That's really good. And then, yeah, so the way you'd use it is she has double special launch. If you have Vegapunk as your leader, then you get 6 turns removal of Rainbow Shield and Threshold. I really hope they don't try and build specific content around having Vegapunk as your leader and then having York here to make use of 6-turn removal of Rainbow Shield and Threshold, or even worse, if they make it like 8 turns, and if you have double Vegapunk leader, that would be even worse, right? Meaning that you would have to have double Vegapunk leader to make this character remove like up to 8 turns, because basically you're adding 1 You're actually adding 2 for every removal. With both Vegapunk leaders, they add an additional turn. So basically, the double special launch would make this remove 4 turns per special. And then this is 6 turns removal of special bind. They've done this in the past where the character removes a bunch of special bind, but then, you know, they only remove like half of it. And then with double special launch, then you get the full effect. That makes sense in a vacuum, but at the same time, if you're inflicted with, like, you know, special limit uses, or just activating multiple specials like over and over again to get like the overall buff because of using 2 specials at once, I really don't like that. I'd much rather just use 1 special and then all the effects are gone, rather than having to use the special multiple times to get the most out of it. Just a little side thing, not really a big fan of that, but either way, she has pinch healing, double special launch as we know. Super tandem ability is just a 1.5 tandem attack boost, so not great, but hey, it's free to play, you know. Support effect doesn't matter. And then in Rumble, you're not really going to use this character in Rumble, let's be real. Also the fact that it looks like, yeah, this character is Dex, and I believe the other Vegapunk is also Dex Cerebral Free Spirit, yeah. What was the secondary class for York? Driven, interesting, Cerebral Driven. So yeah, it's funny, because when the Vegapunks were first coming out, we had a lot of them all just being focused on being Int, so now we're kind of pivoting and having these characters focus on being Dex this time. So we'll see, but one thing we do know is that, yeah, 100% York is the PKA character, so we have like the actual gimmicks, which we can have a look at. Also, something to note is that the 11th anniversary ship, we already know what the ship is going to be boosted by. So starting April 28th, which I believe is the start of the Sugo Fest for, you know, Vegapunk and Kuma, it gives 5 turns of cooldown, 1.8 attack, 1.1 HP, tandem and matching, and then perfects are easier to hit with 3 times EXP and berries. That is phenomenal, and that's going to be lasting up until when the anniversary starts. And then when the anniversary, well, the day of the anniversary, we get max special ship, and then the rest is the same with 10 times EXP and berries. Remember that this was only pretty much going to last 1 day. This looks like even like half a day. So you don't get a lot of time with this. So during this time period where you have 10 times EXP and berries, this is the best time in Treasure Cruise for that throughout the entire year to farm any EXP or any berries that you need to get your account sorted. However, after that time period, it will still pivot to being a 5 times EXP and berry ship, and that's going to be lasting for the rest of the day. So for a short amount of time, it's 10 times, and then for the rest of the day, it's going to be 5x. I don't know, that's just make it 10x for like the whole day. Like, make it 10x for the whole week, why not, right? And then from the 13th of May, so when this period ends, until the 27th of June, it's still going to be a 5 cooldown ship and still 2 times EXP and berries. So you're still getting a lot of benefits out of it. So just keep that in mind, that you want to be making sure that you get this boosted ship. Everyone will get access to it. If you don't have it, it will be accessible to you via methods. They'll announce it in game. So don't stress about it too much if you don't have the ship. And then there's also Grand Party. So Grand Party is changing, it looks like. If the leader is Rev Army, Navy, or 4 Emperors, then your whole team gets attack, HP, recovery, defense, speed up level 5, and CT up level 3. Grand Party burst launch minus 40%. GP burst launch plus 1. This is disgusting. This is absolutely disgusting. This is going to be a brutal Grand Party season, because Int Luffy, Strength Luffy, I mean, I'm not too sure if Sai Luffy at that point is considered an Emperor. I actually haven't looked to see if Int Gear 5 Luffy from the anniversary is considered a 4 Emperor's character. I would assume that he is. If that is the case, that's kind of gross. Even Dex Kaido is considered a 4 Emperors as well. So Dex Kaido giving a bunch to your whole team. This is going to be a rough season, dude. This is going to be a rough one. However, what I will say is that there's likely going to be an additional Grand Party season when the anniversary starts. One of those seasons where you basically get all the wins for free and you only need 10 wins. I'm expecting that to be the case, so we basically just get a bunch of free gems. So we'll have to wait and see. But anyways, that is the full breakdown of the full data download for the Vegapunk batch. Let me know your thoughts and opinions about this one down below in the comment section. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to go ahead and leave a like. And if you want to stay up to date with all the content I post, including more One Piece Treasure Cruise content, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below. On that, guys, I'll see you guys within the next video.